I knew something was wrong. The second my key didn't turn. It jammed halfway. Metal grinding against metal. Like it didn't belong anymore. The porch light was on. I never leave it on. Not for months. Not while I was deployed. Halfway across the world. I tried again. Same resistance. Same wrong feeling. That's when I noticed the door frame. Fresh paint. Still tacky under my fingers. Someone had been here. Recently. I stepped back. Boots crunching on gravel. A sound that used to feel familiar. It didn't anymore. The air smelled different too. Not dust. Not old wood. Something cleaner. Manufactured. Like a place trying to forget what it used to be. I knocked. Once. Sharp. Controlled. Silence answered first. Then. Footsteps. Slow. Confident. Not hesitant. Not unsure. Not like a stranger. The door opened halfway. A man stood there. Mid-30s. Barefoot. Holding a mug. My mug. The chip on the rim. Caught the porch light. He looked at me. Like I was interrupting him. Can I help you? Casual. Like I didn't belong. My throat went dry. My voice didn't. You're in my house. He blinked. Once. Then shook his head. Like he'd heard this before. No, man. I rent this place. A beat. Signed lease. All legal. Lease. That word landed heavy. Heavier than it should have. I looked past him. Furniture moved. Walls repainted. The photos. Gone. Every trace of my father's work. Erased. Something cold slid down my spine. Who gave you that lease? He hesitated. Just a second. Then said it. Like it meant nothing. HOA. That's when I heard it. An engine. Slow. Deliberate. Tires rolling over asphalt behind me. I didn't turn right away. I didn't need to. I already knew. The timing. The type of car. I'd seen it before. The door opened. Soft click. Then heels on pavement. Measured. Precise. I turned. Patricia Holloway. White blazer. Perfect posture. Smiling. Like she'd been waiting. For this exact moment. No surprise. Not even a flicker. Daniel, she said. Voice smooth. Controlled. You finally came back. The way she said it made it sound like a problem. I stepped toward her. Shoulders tight. Locked. Why is there a stranger in my house? Her smile didn't move. Your property was considered abandoned. Abandoned. The word twisted. Wrong. Rewritten. I was deployed. She tilted her head. Slightly. Correcting. Dismissing. And the community can't just sit still waiting forever. Behind me. The man shifted. Uneasy now. Confused. Good. He should be. I reached for my phone. Paused. Half a second. Because something about her tone didn't match. Too calm. Too ready. Too practiced. Like she'd already played this conversation out. You filed paperwork? I asked. She nodded. Once. Clean. Certain. All within our rights. That phrase again. Our rights. It didn't fit. Not with the timing. Not with the fresh paint. Not with how fast everything changed. Sirens cut through the distance. Close. Too close. I hadn't called them. My grip tightened around the phone. Patricia's smile shifted. Just a fraction. Enough. That's when it clicked. This wasn't a reaction. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. And the sirens? They weren't coming to figure things out. They were coming to finish what she started. The sirens stopped right in front of my driveway. Doors opened almost in sync. 2 officers stepped out, hands resting near their belts, eyes already scanning me like I was the problem. I did not move. I did not step back. Gravel shifted under my boots as I squared my stance. One of them, older, calm face, walked up first. "Sir, we got a call about a trespass." Trespass. The word landed heavy. Wrong. Completely wrong. I pointed at the house behind me. "That is my property." He glanced past me, then toward Patricia. She was already walking over, calm as ever, holding a thin folder against her chest. Too prepared. Way too prepared. "Officers," she said gently, like she had rehearsed this. "We have documentation." She handed over the folder. No hesitation. No nerves. The younger officer flipped it open. Pages. Clean. Organized. Stamped. I could hear the papers shift as he turned them. Slow. Careful. Like it all made sense to him. That should not have been possible. "He has been absent for over 8 months, Patricia continued. "The property was flagged under community abandonment policy." Community abandonment policy. That phrase again. It sounded official. It felt wrong. The older officer looked at me. Not hostile. Just cautious. "Do you have proof of ownership on you, sir?" I reached for my wallet. My fingers felt stiff. I pulled out my identification. Military ID. Still warm from my pocket. He looked at it. Nodded once. But his expression did not change. That was the problem. It should have changed something. "I was deployed," I said. "Clear. Controlled. Orders. Active duty." The younger officer tapped the papers lightly. "These show transfer of management rights through the HOA during absence." Transfer. Management rights. They were stacking words to make it sound legal. To make it sound final. Behind me, the man inside the house stepped closer to the door. Listening. Confused now. He looked from me to the officers, then to Patricia. Something was not adding up for him either. Good. It should not. "You cannot just take someone's house," I said. My voice stayed even, but I could feel the pressure building in my chest. Patricia tilted her head slightly. Still calm. Still in control. "We followed procedure." That word again. Procedure. It kept showing up like a shield. The older officer exhaled slowly. "Sir, based on what we are seeing here, this is a civil matter." Civil matter. That was how they step back. That was how they leave you standing alone. "So what are you saying?" I asked. He held my gaze. "I am saying you cannot force entry right now." The lock behind me suddenly felt heavier than steel. Like it had already decided who it belonged to. I looked at the door. Then at the fresh paint. Then at Patricia. She had not blinked once. Not since the officers arrived. That was when it clicked. This was not rushed. This was planned. Every step. Every paper. Every call. Even the timing of my return. "You knew I was coming back," I said quietly. Her smile did not grow. It just stayed there. Perfect. Controlled. "We monitor community activity closely." That was not an answer. That was confirmation. The younger officer closed the folder and handed it back to her. No questions. No doubt. Just acceptance. That should not have happened this fast. Something deeper was sitting under all of this. Something they were not seeing. Or maybe something they were choosing not to see. My phone felt heavier in my hand now. Not hesitation anymore. Decision. I stepped away from the door. Just one step. Enough to breathe. Enough to think. Enough to act. Because if they believed this paperwork, then I needed something stronger than paper. I started dialing before either officer could say another word. The call connected on the second ring. No music. No delay. Just a voice, sharp and awake. "Legal assistance, this line is recorded." I stepped further off the porch, gravel crunching under my boots, eyes still locked on Patricia. Staff Sergeant Daniel Carter. Active duty. I need JAG support. Possible SCRA violation. Silence for half a second. Then the tone changed. Focused. Precise. Location? I gave it. Street. County. State. The operator repeated it back without hesitation. That alone told me everything. This was not a casual call. This was already moving. Behind me, one of the officers shifted his weight. Watching. Listening. He caught the word SCRA. I saw it register. Small but real. Explain the situation, the voice said. I kept it tight. No emotion. Just facts. HOA seized property during deployment. Installed tenant. Local enforcement treating as civil. Another pause. Shorter this time. Keys tapping in the background. Do you have deployment orders? Yes. Do you have prior notice of foreclosure or court action? No. That answer landed harder than anything else I had said. Even I could hear it. No notice. No due process. Just action. Stay on the line, the voice said. Then quieter, like speaking to someone else in the room. We need immediate review. Possible federal breach. My pulse slowed. Not from calm. From clarity. This was not gray anymore. This was clean. I turned slightly, just enough to see the officers again. The younger one looked less certain now. His jaw tightened just a bit. Patricia noticed it too. Her smile flickered. Barely. But it was there. First crack. Sir? The older officer said carefully. Who are you speaking with? I did not look at him. Military legal. That changed the air. Subtle, but immediate. The kind of shift you only notice if you are trained to. Patricia stepped closer, heels clicking softly. Daniel, there is no need to escalate this, she said, voice still smooth, but faster now. We can resolve this through proper channels. Proper channels? She kept saying that. Like repeating it would make it true. You already chose your channel, I replied. She held my gaze. Still confident. But something behind it was calculating now. Adjusting. Rewriting. The man in the doorway spoke up for the first time since the officers arrived. Wait, is this not legal? His voice carried uncertainty. Real uncertainty. He looked at Patricia, not me. That was important. Of course it is, she said quickly. Too quickly. Everything was reviewed. Reviewed by who? That question hung in the air. No one answered it. The voice on my phone came back. Sharper now. Decisive. Staff Sergeant Carter, remain at your location. Do not engage further. Legal representatives are being dispatched. Dispatched. That word carried weight. Not advice. Not suggestion. Action. I nodded once, even though they could not see it. Understood. The line stayed open. Not a call anymore. A connection. The older officer cleared his throat. Sir, if this involves federal protections, we may need to reassess. May need. Not will. Not yet. But the ground was shifting. Patricia heard it too. Her fingers tightened slightly around the folder. Papers that felt so solid a minute ago suddenly looked thinner. Lighter. Fragile. A car passed slowly at the end of the street. Someone watching. Curtains moving in nearby windows. The neighborhood was waking up to something it did not expect. I slipped my phone back against my ear. Said nothing. Waited. Because now it was not about proving anything. It was about letting the right people arrive. Patricia took a small step back. Just one. Enough to break her perfect stance. Enough to show she was thinking ahead. Calculating exits. That was when I knew, whatever she built this on, it was about to be tested. The street went quiet in a way that did not feel normal. Not peaceful. Controlled. Like everyone was waiting for something to break. I stayed where I was, phone still warm. Against my ear, eyes moving between Patricia, the officers, and the open doorway behind them. The man inside had stepped back now, half in shadow, still holding my mug, but not drinking anymore. He knew something had shifted. He just did not know what yet. A low engine hum rolled in from the corner. Not fast. Not loud. Deliberate. Another vehicle turned onto the street. Dark. Clean. Government plates. The older officer noticed first. His posture changed. Subtle, but clear. He straightened slightly. The younger one followed his gaze. Patricia did not turn right away. That told me everything. She already knew what was coming. Or at least, she thought she did. The vehicle came to a slow stop just short of the driveway. No sirens. No rush. The doors opened one at a time. 2 men stepped out. Suits. Not flashy. Not local. One carried a thin case. The other held nothing but a phone and a calm expression. They did not look at anyone else first. They looked at me. That was the first real shift in control. The man with the case walked up the driveway like he had done it 100 times. No hesitation. No need to ask permission. "Staff Sergeant Carter?" he asked. His voice was firm, steady. I nodded once. "Yes." He gave a short nod back, then turned slightly toward the officers. "We will take it from here." Not aggressive. Not loud. But final. The older officer stepped back half a pace. Not ordered. Not forced. Just instinct. That kind of authority does not need to raise its voice. Patricia finally turned fully toward them. Her smile came back, but it was different now. Tighter. Measured. "And you are?" she asked, tone polite but sharper underneath. The second man answered. "United States Military Legal Division." He let the words sit. No extra explanation. No effort to impress. The silence after that said more than anything else. The younger officer shifted again. Now he was watching Patricia instead of me. That change mattered. The man with the case opened it slowly. Papers inside. Not many. Just enough. He pulled one out and held it up at chest level. "We have reason to believe this property has been unlawfully interfered with during active military deployment." Each word landed clean. No rush. No emotion. Just fact. Patricia did not reach for the paper. That was new. A few minutes ago, she would have taken control of anything handed to her. Now she held her ground. Calculating. "All actions were conducted under community regulations," she said. Still confident. Still pushing. But there was a crack now. You could hear it in the timing. Half a second too fast. The man did not react to her tone. He just continued. "Federal protections override community regulations in this context." That was the first real line drawn. Clean. Sharp. Unmovable. The man inside the house stepped fully into view now. "Am I in trouble?" he asked, voice low, uncertain. The second man looked at him briefly. "Not at this time." Simple. Direct. The tension shifted again. Not gone. Just redirected. Patricia's grip on the folder tightened. The edges bent slightly under her fingers. Papers that once felt like control now looked like evidence. The older officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we may need to review this situation further." He was not on her side anymore. Not fully. Not safely. Patricia looked at him. Then at me. Then at the men in suits. Her smile did not disappear. But it stopped feeling real. The man with the case stepped 1 inch closer to her. Not enough to invade space. Just enough to change the balance. "We are going to need copies of everything you filed." He said it calmly. Like it was already decided. Patricia hesitated. Just for a moment. That moment was all I needed to see. Because people who are certain do not hesitate. She handed over the folder. Slowly. Carefully. Like she was letting go of something she was not ready to lose. The man took it without a word. Opened it. Began scanning the pages. Silence stretched across the driveway. Even the wind felt like it had stopped. I watched his eyes move across the documents. Line by line. No reaction at first. Then a pause. Small. But real. He looked at one page a second longer than the others. That was when everything shifted again. His finger stopped on a signature. Not the stamp. Not the letterhead. The signature. He tilted the page slightly toward the light, like he was checking something beneath the ink. That small movement pulled every eye toward that one spot. Even Patricia leaned forward, just a fraction. Too fast. Too curious. This signature, he said quietly, almost to himself. Not an accusation. Not yet. Just an observation. He glanced up at her. Who authorized this? Patricia did not answer right away. That was new. She had been answering everything instantly. Controlling the pace. Now she paused. One beat too long. It was processed through our legal committee, she said finally. Clean words. Polished. But the timing was off. The man's eyes dropped back to the page. He flipped it over. Checked the back. Then the next page. His partner stepped closer, reading over his shoulder. No words exchanged. Just a shared look. Short. Sharp. Enough to confirm something. The air tightened again. The older officer shifted his stance, now watching the documents instead of the people. That shift mattered more than anything said so far. This authorization date, the man continued, tapping lightly with one finger. You filed this 3 weeks after his deployment status was updated. He did not look up this time. He did not need to. The statement hung there. Heavy. Precise. Patricia's smile held, but it stopped reaching her eyes. We act based on community records, she replied. Still smooth. Still controlled. But her voice had lost a layer. Less warmth. More edge. The second man stepped forward now. Community records do not override federal service protections. That line landed harder than the first one. Not louder. Just clearer. Final. The man inside the house took another step back. He set the mug down on the counter behind him without looking. Like he suddenly did not want to be holding anything from this place. Good instinct. Are you saying this lease is not valid? He asked. His voice carried tension now. Real concern. The first man closed the folder halfway. Not fully. Just enough to mark a shift. We are saying this situation requires immediate review under federal jurisdiction. Not invalid. Not yet. But close enough to feel it. Patricia exhaled slowly. Controlled. Measured. She crossed her arms lightly, like she was settling into a different stance. Defensive, but still composed. Then review it, she said. Calm again. Almost too calm. Like she had decided on a new approach. That was when I noticed something else. Her eyes flicked once toward the house. Just once. Quick. Subtle. But deliberate. Like she was checking something inside. Or someone. The second man caught it too. I saw it in the way his gaze shifted. Not to the door. To the windows. To the structure itself. Mapping it. Reading it. The man with the case reopened the folder fully. Slower now. More deliberate. He pulled out a second document. Thicker paper. Different texture. We are also going to need to verify how access to the property was obtained, he said. That question landed differently. It was not about paperwork anymore. It was about action. About entry. Patricia's fingers tightened again. This time around nothing. Just air. Access was granted through HOA authority, she replied. Still steady. Still pushing forward. But her footing was shifting. You could feel it. Without a court order? The second man asked. That one cut straight through everything else. No padding. No build-up. Just the question. Patricia's silence lasted longer this time. Not a pause. A gap. A real one. The kind that does not hide well. The older officer looked at her. Waiting. Not helping. Not stepping in. Just watching. That was new too. Finally she spoke. The situation required immediate action. Not an answer. A deflection. The man nodded once. Slow. Like he had heard exactly what he needed. He closed the folder completely this time. The sound was soft. But final. Understood, he said. And that single word carried more weight than anything else she had said all morning. Because it did not mean agreement. It meant something else entirely. Something procedural. Something official. Something that was about to move forward whether she wanted it to or not. The second man stepped slightly to the side, already reaching for his phone. Not dialing yet. Just preparing. Patricia saw it. Her posture shifted again. Smaller this time. Less certain. The street stayed quiet. Too quiet. Like everything was holding its breath. And then the man with the case looked up again, directly at her, and asked one more question. Who changed the locks? He asked. The question cut clean through everything else. No extra words. No room to hide behind policy or procedure. Just that. Simple. Direct. Patricia blinked once. A small reaction, but it broke her rhythm. The property required securing, she said. Still composed, but slower now. Careful. Choosing each word instead of letting them flow. The man did not respond immediately. He just watched her. Measured. Patient. Like he had already heard this answer before. Somewhere else. That was not the question, he said quietly. Not louder. Just sharper. The kind of correction that does not ask twice. Patricia's jaw tightened slightly. Barely visible, but it was there. The HOA authorized a contractor, she replied. There it was. A shift. Not authority anymore. A contractor. Someone else. The second man stepped in half a step. Name of the contractor? He asked. Patricia hesitated again. Longer this time. Her eyes flicked once toward the street. Then back. It was handled internally. That answer did not land. You could feel it. Even the younger officer exhaled softly, like he knew that was not enough. The man with the case nodded once. Slow. Controlled. So there is no external record of entry authorization. Not a question. A statement. And statements like that do not get undone. The man inside the house shifted again. Now fully uncertain. They told me everything was cleared, he said. His voice was lower. Less confident. He looked at Patricia again. Waiting. Hoping for something solid. She did not look at him. Not this time. That told him more than any answer could. The second man turned slightly toward him. We will need a copy of your lease as well, he said. Calm. Professional. Not blaming. Just collecting facts. The man nodded quickly. Yeah, I have it inside. He disappeared into the house without another word. The door stayed open. Wide. Exposed. For the first time, it did not feel like a barrier. It felt like evidence. I could see inside now. New furniture. Different layout. My father's old chair gone. The wall where we kept photos blank. Too clean. Too fast. Patricia stepped forward again, trying to reclaim ground. This is getting unnecessarily complicated, she said. Her voice carried a tighter edge now. Less smooth. More pressure. The man with the case did not even look at her this time. He was watching the doorway. Waiting. Federal property interference is rarely simple, he said. That line settled deep. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just real. The older officer nodded slightly. Not to anyone. Just to himself. That was the moment he stopped treating this like a neighborhood issue. Patricia crossed her arms again. Tighter now. Defensive. You are making assumptions, she said. We followed established guidelines. The second man finally looked directly at her. Guidelines do not grant entry without judicial authorization, he said, each word placed carefully. No room to bend them. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything before. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the distant sounds of the neighborhood felt muted. Then the man came back out of the house, holding a folded set of papers. His hands were not steady anymore. This is what they gave me, he said. He handed it over without hesitation. The second man took it and unfolded it slowly. His eyes moved across the page once. Then again. Slower the second time. He turned it slightly toward his partner. No words exchanged. Just a look. The kind that confirms something you were hoping not to find. The man with the case took the lease next. Compared it to the documents from Patricia's folder. Side by side. Line by line. The difference showed almost immediately. You did not need to read it. You could see it in his expression. That small shift in his eyes. That pause. That was enough. Patricia saw it too. Her posture changed again. Not confident anymore. Not fully. Something underneath was slipping. The man closed both documents at the same time. Clean. Controlled. Final. Then he looked straight at her. And this time, there was no softness left in his voice. This lease does not match your authorization file, he said. No hesitation. No cushion. Just the truth, placed directly in front of her. The words hung there, heavy and sharp. Patricia did not respond right away. For the first time, she looked at the papers instead of controlling the room. That alone changed everything. The second man stepped closer, pointing to a line near the bottom. Different approval chain. Different dates. Different authority. Each detail stacked on top of the next. Clean. Unavoidable. The man who had been staying in my house shifted again. Now fully unsettled. Wait, so what does that mean for me? He asked. His voice carried something new. Not confusion anymore. Concern. Real concern. The first man looked at him briefly. It means you were given a lease that may not be legally enforceable. Careful wording. But the message was clear enough. The man exhaled slowly. Shoulders dropping. Like something just clicked into place for him. He stepped back from the doorway. Further inside. Like he did not want to stand between anyone anymore. Patricia finally spoke. There may be minor clerical inconsistencies, she said. Her tone was controlled, but thinner now. Strained at the edges. But the intent remains valid. Intent. She had moved away from facts. That shift was obvious. The second man did not acknowledge the word at all. Intent does not establish legal authority, he replied. Flat. Final. The older officer nodded again. This time more clearly. No hesitation. The line had moved. Patricia saw it. Her posture tightened. Shoulders squared. Chin slightly raised. She was holding position now, not advancing. We acted in good faith, she said. That phrase sounded different. Less confident. More defensive. The man with the case looked at her directly. Good faith requires proper notice, he said. Another clean line. No room around it. No space to argue. The silence after that was louder than anything before. The neighborhood felt like it was leaning in. Watching. Waiting. The second man unfolded the lease again. One last look. Then he tapped the signature. This signature is not consistent with the authorization file, he said. That was it. The point where everything stopped pretending. Patricia's eyes moved to the signature. Stayed there. A second too long. That was all it took. The first man closed both documents again. This time with purpose. At this point, he said, voice steady, controlled, We are initiating a formal federal review. The words landed like a shift in gravity. Not loud, but absolute. The younger officer straightened. Fully alert now. No doubt left. No hesitation. The man inside the house looked between everyone again. So, I should leave? He asked. The second man nodded once. We recommend you vacate temporarily until this is resolved. Not an order, but close enough. The man did not argue. He disappeared inside again, moving faster this time. Gathering things? Quietly. Efficiently. Patricia watched him go. Said nothing. That silence spoke louder than anything she had said all morning. The first man stepped slightly closer to her again. Not aggressive. Just present. We will also need a full list of all properties processed under this same procedure, he added. That was the moment her composure cracked. Not visibly. Not dramatically. But you could feel it. The weight of that request. It was not about me anymore. It was bigger. Much bigger. Her eyes shifted again. Not to the papers. Not to the officers. Down the street. Toward the rest of the neighborhood. That was when I realized this was not the only house. The front door stayed open as he moved inside, drawers sliding, footsteps quick and uneven, like he did not want to linger a second longer than necessary. The house sounded different now. Not lived in. Not settled. Temporary. That was the word. Temporary. Boxes scraped lightly across the floor. A zipper closed. Something small dropped, then picked up again. No one rushed him. No one needed to. The decision had already been made. Patricia did not move. Not yet. Her eyes stayed fixed down the street, like she was measuring distance instead of damage. The second man followed her gaze. Then he looked back at her. We will need access to your HOA records immediately, he said. Calm. Direct. Not a request. Patricia exhaled slowly. Controlled. Those records are private, she replied. The word private sounded weaker than she intended. It did not carry weight here. Not anymore. Not under federal review, he said. That line settled everything around it. Clean. Unarguable. The older officer shifted his stance again. Now fully aligned with the men beside me. Not neutral anymore. Not detached. Present. The man inside stepped back out, now holding a small duffel bag and a folded jacket. He did not look at Patricia when he passed her. That silence said more than any accusation could. He paused near the edge of the driveway. I did not know, he said quietly. No one answered him. There was nothing to answer. He nodded once, mostly to himself, then walked past the patrol cars and down the street. No one stopped him. No one needed to. The space he left behind felt bigger than it should have. Patricia watched him go for a second. Then she turned back. Slower this time. Less certain. This is still a community matter, she said. Her voice had lost its smooth edge. Now it sounded like something she was trying to hold together. The man with the case did not respond immediately. He stepped forward instead. One step. Enough to close the distance between them. It stopped being a community matter when federal protections were ignored, he said. Each word placed carefully. Final. Patricia opened her mouth slightly. Closed it again. That pause said everything. The second man had already taken out his phone. Now he dialed. No hesitation. No glance for approval. We need a records hold and audit initiated, he said into the receiver. Short. Clear. No explanation. That single sentence changed the scope of everything. Patricia's shoulders dropped just a fraction. The smallest shift. But it was there. The first visible sign that control had left her hands. The older officer cleared his throat. Ma'am, you will need to cooperate with this process, he said. Not harsh. Not aggressive. Just certain. The same man who had called this a civil matter minutes ago now stood on the other side of the line. Patricia nodded once. Slow. Mechanical. Not agreement. Not acceptance. Just acknowledgement. The man with the case turned slightly toward me. For the first time, his attention fully shifted. Staff Sergeant Carter, he said, voice steady. You will regain access to your property once initial verification is complete. Once. Not if. That word settled deep. I nodded once. Did not speak. The air smelled like fresh paint and something else now. Something thinner. Like whatever had been built here was already starting to come apart. The second man ended his call and slipped the phone back into his pocket. They are pulling regional filings now, he said quietly. Regional. Not local. Bigger. Patricia heard it. Her eyes moved again. Not to the house. Not to me. Further down the street. Past the next row of houses. That look stayed a second too long. And that was when I understood, this neighborhood was only the beginning. The wind moved through the street again, light and steady, but nothing felt the same anymore. The house stood open behind me. Quiet. Exposed. Like it was waiting to be recognized again. The man with the case stepped aside, giving a clear path to the front door. No announcement. No ceremony. Just space. I walked forward slowly. Each step felt heavier than it should have. The porch creaked under my boots. Same sound. Same wood. But everything else had changed. I reached for the handle. New metal. Cold. Temporary. I pushed the door open wider. The smell hit first. Fresh paint. Cleaning chemicals. Something artificial layered over something older. My eyes moved across the room. The layout was wrong. Furniture shifted. Walls stripped. The place where my father's chair used to sit was empty. Too clean. Too deliberate. Like someone had erased history instead of living in it. I stepped inside. One foot. Then the other. The floorboards responded the same way they always had. Solid. Familiar. That part had not changed. Not yet. Behind me, no one followed. They did not need to. This moment was not theirs. My hand brushed the wall near the entry. The paint was still slightly uneven. Rushed. Corners missed. Details ignored. That told me more than any document. This had been done fast. Too fast. A timeline that did not match what they claimed. I moved deeper into the living room. My eyes caught something near the baseboard. A small mark. Faint. Almost covered. But not completely. I crouched down. Ran my fingers over it. A scratch. Old. From years ago. From moving furniture. From real life. They had tried to paint over it. But it was still there. That was the truth of this place. Not the papers. Not the lease. Not the story they built. The truth was still underneath. Always had been. I stood back up slowly. Turned toward the doorway. Patricia was still there. But she did not step forward. She stayed where she was. On the edge. No longer inside this space. No longer in control of it. The men behind her were already moving. Quiet conversations. Phones out again. Names. Numbers. Processes starting. The sound of it all felt distant. Like it belonged to a different layer of this moment. The older officer stood near the driveway, watching everything with a different expression now. Not uncertain anymore. Certain in a different way. The kind that comes after something shifts too far to go back. I walked toward the hallway. Slower now. Taking it in. The door to my old room was half open. I pushed it gently. It swung inward without resistance. Empty. Clean. Stripped. But one thing remained. The closet door. Slightly ajar. Just enough to show a shadow inside. I paused there. Something about it felt off. Not wrong. Just unfinished. Like someone had missed something. Or left something behind. The noise outside continued. Low voices. Controlled movement. But in here, it was quiet again. Still. I reached for the closet door. My fingers stopped just short of touching it. Because for the first time since I got back, I realized this was not just about what they took. It was about what they missed.